Okay, go ahead. Oh, shit. Yeah, it was definitely that last one.
One you took out?
Yeah, it was seriously hydro locked. Yeah, it was that. Okay, go one more time. Okay, go again. Alright, just wait a minute and then we'll... So I've had a couple of videos here working on this truck before. We changed the water pump on it and we've changed the radiator on it. But unfortunately, during the uses of this truck, it overheated a few too many times, and finally the head gasket went out on it. So this is a Ford F800. Let me show you. And you know, we're gonna be working on this thing and changing the head gasket on it. So let me give you guys a video of what it's gonna be like and the process of trying to get to this head gasket and get this changed out here. And not the ideal conditions. I'm working just out in the yard over top of grass, so we'll see how it turns out. Here's a quick rundown of what it looks like before I start. You can see how it's a diesel motor, it's a 6-cylinder, it's a big motor, it's a 7.8, and you know, half of the back or a quarter of the back of the motor is underneath the cab. So I debated on it if I had to pull the cab off or not to get this job done, but there's actually a inside cap that I can take off, a cover say, in the cab. So that should help me get access to the back bolts of the head. And then I got to take a lot of this other stuff apart to get it out of the way. Like probably a lot of this stuff in the front of the motor, obviously all the air cleaner, and probably have to take off this water pump and things like that in the front. We'll see what I have to take off and what I can leave. Inside the cab, this is the cap that I'm gonna have to take off, and then to get to the back of the head. Alright, so I just pulled off this cap here, and you can see that it's been leaking oil a lot from that head gasket or from all the surrounding areas, but I know this back cylinder here was the one that was getting water into the cylinder. So this is a problem down here. So here's the update. We got a lot of stuff moved out of the way. This is the turbo. So I noticed that there's actually a cooler inside the intake that's cooled with a radiator and water. And you know, we had water inside the back cylinder, so I was thinking that it's possible that cooler could be leaking, and then water could be flowing down to the back cylinder and getting into the cylinder, and that could be our total issue. You know, even though these gaskets on this motor obviously look like they've been leaking, and you know, this is a really old truck, but these are steel heads and steel heads and steel blocks. So like the chances of the gasket being the problem are slim. I mean, they're a lot lower than any kind of other motor that's aluminum. So it's something to think about. So here's the cooler I'm talking about. So I'm gonna pressure test this thing and see if it's actually leaking water back here. Even on the bottom side, it could be leaking and then going right into the back cylinder. So we'll see. So here it is. It's out. Looks like you can see that this corner, this is the suspect corner that would be potentially leaking out here and coming into the cylinder. And that's you know, there's a little bit of rust everywhere, but this one, particularly this side, is worse. So, and these are really rusted, but that wouldn't be the problem out there. It would be if there was a problem, it'd be somewhere in here. So I'm gonna pressure it up and see. Here's what it looks on the motor side. I don't really see much signs of water besides a little bit of rust there, of like a lot of water flowing back there, because it was a large amount. Like whenever I took out this injection, this back injector here, when I took that out and turned the motor over, it was shooting water up everywhere, like lots of water. So I would think I would see a sign of water flowing back there, but I don't see that much, so it's not looking good. So I'm about, I would say, halfway done with getting this all apart. I got most of everything taken off here in the front of the motor, and now I'm working on just the injector lines and the return lines. It's going to be kind of tricky to get them taken out of this intake manifold. They're kind of weaved in there, so it's been a lot of work, but about halfway there. Alright, so I got all the return lines and the injector lines undone. So now I'm gonna unhook them down here and unhook these brackets, and then see about getting this intake manifold off, or see if I can leave it on, not sure yet. So I got the rail loose. Now I'm gonna see if I can drop it down far enough. What might have to happen is I need to take the manifold off at the same time, so we'll see. So I'm back with day 2. Yesterday I got pretty far. The only thing I have left is the rocker arms. Take those loose, pull out the push rods, pull the injectors out, and then the head bolts. And then I'm ready to lift it up. And I'm gonna use a forklift to help me lift this thing out. It's gonna be heavy. Here's all the parts I've taken off so far. Here's all the tools I've used so far, besides a couple pry bars and things like that, but it's not so bad. So check it out. This bolt hits the bottom of the cab here, but it's up high enough where it's coming out of the block, out of the head, so I should be able to still pull it out. But I just thought that was kind of funny to show. see that last push rod might be an issue. I'll have to figure out what I'm gonna do about that. Alright, so I got all the rocker arms off and the push rods pulled out. It was pretty tight back here. I had to take apart the ashtray up here, and it gave me enough room to slide out this push rod back here. So now I'm gonna pull the injectors out and then take the head bolts off. Come around to that side. That'll work. I need that extension about half that size when I go to torque these down. Just took this big ass pry bar and broke it loose. This thing's hella heavy. So I had to leave the turbo and exhaust manifold hooked onto it because these bolts right here are just so rusted. I'm gonna try to do this whole operation leaving the turbo and exhaust manifold on, as well as the intake manifold. And so I'm gonna take a forklift and pull this thing out. Alright, got the forklift set up. I'm taking off the hood. I just got the bolts loose. Got the wiring hooked. So it's actually hanging loose now. Getting ready to lift it up. Got it. I had to drop it down, turn it a certain angle so that I could do this by myself. But I got it loose. It's kind of sick with the grill, maybe with the radiator. That's the grill. Up here, got some movement here. Let's see how it works. Here's inside here. Rig this up. perfect where it picked up the front before it picked up the back and slid it right out. Inspect this thing. The water was in the last cylinder. We got a damage here. If that's a water jacket, then this was the problem. There's a whole chunk missing right here of the gasket. So that might be it. I was able to leave the turbo hooked onto it. And the intake manifold. And this fuel rail is just wired through this thing, so it was easy just to unhook the 6 injector lines here, leave it there, and I won't even need to replace that seal. So I'm just gonna leave this whole thing like it is and drop it in like the same way I put it out, pulled it out. Back corner here, breach. I suspect the breach to be right there.